Frontier Town, the saga of the Roaring West. Frontier Town. El Paso, Cheyenne, Calgary, Tombstone. Frontier Town. Here is the adventurous story of the early West, the tamed and the untamed, from the Pecos to Powder River, Dodge City to Poker Flat. These are the towns they fought to live in and lived to fight for, teeming crucibles of pioneer freedom. Frontier Town!
Howdy. Chad Remington's the name. Frontier lawyer is the occupation. And it all boils down to one fact. Trouble is my business. Living as I do in the cowtown called Dos Rios, smack dab on the middle of the rawhide tough frontier, I get and I handle troubles of all kinds from people of all kinds. And strangely enough, the troubles that are sometimes dropped in my lap have nothing to do with Dos Rios. Although somehow or other they have a good deal to do with the development of the West. And it wasn't too long ago I received a long letter, a desperate cry for help from people I'd never seen, from a part of the country I'd never been to and hardly heard of. I remember sitting in my office upstairs over the Dos Rios livery stable and discussing the letter with the man who owns the livery stable, an ex-medicine man, twice reformed, by the name of Cherokee O'Bannon.
You say you've never heard of this Mr. Knudsen, Chad?
Cherokee, not only have I never heard of Mr. Foreman Knudsen, but I don't think I've ever heard of the town of Faust more than once. And, well, if memory serves me, the town is well named.
Now, does this Mr. Knudsen say anything about paying you a fee?
No, it doesn't. Nor does that influence me one way or the other. Now, there must be some other lawyer around closer to him who can help them straighten out their difficulties.
Just what are their difficulties?
From what I can gather from the letter, dust storms. Dust storms that have completely ruined the land around Faust and made Mr. Knudsen's farm and his neighbors' farms worthless.
Billy Blue Blazes, Chad. What does the man think you are, a magician?
A magician might very well fit into a community that got its name from the legend of Faust. However, apparently that's not what they want. They want some legal advice about how to obtain new lands from the government.
You mean you'd have to get down to Washington?
Well, that alone would be enough to make me refuse the case, all that red tape. But the worst part of it is it just sounds plain, ordinary dull.
You mean that you're going to turn down Mr. Knudsen?
Well, I haven't quite decided, but look, since it's supper time, let's go get a bite to eat while I think it over.
Bite to eat? Well, I'm not exactly hungry yet, Chad. That is, I might be able to do justice to a good dinner if some kind gentleman provided me with a proper appetizer, if you know what I mean, and I'm sure you do.
Oh, you old reprobate. You know, you could save yourself and everybody else a lot of time by ordering the proper combinations of food.
Combinations?
Sure, why not? A perfect meal for you would be 2 sandwiches. Gin on white bread and bourbon on plain rye.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Well, during supper, I decided conclusively that I'd write Mr. Knudsen my sympathies at his plight and at the same time express my regret that at the moment other matters occupied me so that I could not come down to Faust and discuss his problems. It was dark as Cherokee and I started back for the office, and for a change, Dos Rios' little main street was suddenly quiet.
You're going to go upstairs and write that letter to Mr. Knudsen now, Chad?
Yeah, I see no reason why not. If I write it tonight, I can get it in the mail on the 8 o'clock eastbound coach and Hey, Cherokee, is that a light flickering upstairs in my office?
A light up... My Godfrey, Chad, it is a light. Looks like someone moving around in your office with a candle.
We'll soon see about that. Come on. Cherokee, you throw the door open and back out of the way.
Sure will. Watch it now, Chad.
So that's the way you want it, eh? Come on, Cherokee, let's give him a dose of his own.
Chad, what in blazes was that?
He ran across the office and dived through the window.
Well, let's get after him.
A lot of good that'll do. By the time we get downstairs again and around to the back, he'll be a quarter of a mile out of town. Now, I'm going in and see if I can find not who the gentleman is, but what he was looking for. I found what he was looking for, all right. And it was no trouble. My desk had been ransacked, but there in plain sight was a letter from Mr. Knudsen, which I had so carefully stowed away in a pigeonhole an hour before. It was out of its envelope, unfolded and open. Suddenly I realized that perhaps this letter from Knudsen might not be as innocent as it appeared. By 10 o'clock next morning, Cherokee and I were aboard two of his best livery stable horses, beating up the dust for the little town of Faust. Late that same afternoon, we were still moving along at a lively clip, approaching a river bottom, dry and dusty, hemmed in by painted rocks and filled with a jungle of cottonwoods and junipers.
I just had to think, Chad, this name Knudsen. That's an uncommon moniker. Sounds kind of foreign to my ears.
That is kind of foreign, Cherokee. From the little I know, I'd judge that Fulmer Knudsen is a Dane. Probably, like many of the Danes in this country, operates a dairy farm.
Dane, eh? Must relate him to, what was that fellow's name? Hamlet?
Yeah, if you insist on being literary. And in this case, as Shakespeare pointed out in Hamlet, there's probably something rotten in Denmark. Or at least in...
Billy Blue Blazes, Chad. That's the end of my new white Stetson.
And it's likely to be the end of both of us if we don't look sharp.
Where did that shot come from?
Up yonder there from those cottonwoods. Right where those two came from.
Who could be shooting at us?
Well, this is only a guess, but apparently someone would be happier if we never got to Faust and saw Mr. Knudsen. From the appearance of the terrain around here, they've got their battle more than half won.
Blast it, Chad. This is like being a clay pigeon in the shooting gallery. We'll never be able to ride through those cottonwoods.
Now, look, Cherokee, I'm going to throw some lead into those cottonwoods myself, which ought to send them back a little, ducking for cover. When I do, I want you to knock on that horse of yours and cut up through that dry wire. It's wide open.
But what'll happen to you if I do?
Well, that's something we'll both find out later. Now, go on, O'Bannon. If we both get through, I'll meet you at Knudsen's house tomorrow morning.
But look here, Chad, I just can't. I guess I can at that. Get up, you. Get up there.
Well, Mr. Knudsen, the only thing I can possibly suggest is to forget making any direct appeal to Washington, but taking advantage of some new land the government's just thrown open for settlement over in Sunbeam Valley.
That would save much time, you think? What you think, Mama?
This Sunbeam Valley. It is green and fertile, no?
Madam, Sunbeam Valley is greener than the shamrocks in Ireland.
Oh, we must have green land because cows do not make milk from dust.
We are here, Mr. Remington, 22 Danish families, all of us in dairy business. Danish people understand how to raise cows, to make milk, rich milk.
And rich milk makes healthy babies, and healthy babies, they grow up into fine, healthy men and women to make strong this whole country.
Oh, believe me, I understand your problem perfectly. However, although the answer to it seems obvious, filing on lands in Sunbeam Valley, I have a feeling that the big ranchers who've used Sunbeam Valley as open range for years and years aren't going to want dairy farms and fences.
Why should we not be welcome? Ranchers have children too, and children need milk and butter and cheese we make.
If my memory serves me, there are other things you Danes make that aren't exactly dairy products. I remember drinking a delightful brandy made from cherries, which was supposed to be a Danish drink.
Cherokee, I've got a good notion to quench your thirst right now with my two hands. Look, I tell you what I think, Mr. Knudsen. You gather up all of your neighbors and all their belongings and start heading for Sunbeam Valley just as soon as you can.
Then you change your mind? You are not going to help us get the land?
Not at all, Mrs. Knudsen. But to help save time before your cows are completely dried up, Cherokee and I'll go ahead and see the land agent the government just sent out from Washington to handle the claims and file the maps.
Good idea, Chad. That way, by the time the Knudsen's and their families get to Sunbeam Valley, we ought to have their homesteads all ready for them to move in on.
It was a good idea, but like so many good ideas, didn't work the way we'd planned it. Principally because at that time, although we knew someone was interested in the exodus of the dairy farmers, we didn't know about the principal rancher in Sunbeam Valley, Doc Slavin, and his pet trained gunslinger whose handle was Cinco. Well, they had plans too, plans they very quickly put into effect.
Okay, Cinco, hold it. Here's the new land office.
Right, boss. Whoa, you, whoa.
If you knotheads had done what I told you to and kept that lawyer out of this, we wouldn't have to be doing this now.
But, Doc, I told you how Remington...
Shut up and stay shut up. Howdy. You the land agent?
Yes, sir, I am. Something I can do for you?
It sure is. I'm Doc Slavin, own the biggest spread around here, the Lazy J.D. I also represent all the other ranchers in this section.
Yes, Mr. Slavin.
We don't want no farmers in here, and what's more, we ain't letting none in.
Oh, is that so? Well, you listen to me
You're
while I...
doing the listening, my friend. I said we ain't letting no dairymen nor no farmers in here with their blasted fences. But just to make this thing look legal, we're filing for all them homesteads ourselves, using dummies' names.
Mr. Slavin, no one is filing without my consent. And as far as you're concerned, I'm going to report this little conversation to the United States Marshal in El Paso.
Oh, you are, eh?
I most assuredly am. And that gun you're fingering doesn't scare me one bit.
My friend, you got just about 5 seconds to change your mind. And if you don't, there's going to be a new land agent here starting right now. Well?
You can't bluff me, Slavin.
So you think this is bluffing, eh? All right, Cinco. And when you're through with our friend, there is going to be a new land agent, and it's going to be me.
Why, you foul-mouthed...
Now, take him out to the Arroyo and cover him up good, Cinco. I'm staying here and waiting for Remington. If he wants to talk to the land agent, I sure ain't going to disappoint him.
We'll return to the second act of Thunder Over Texas, our exciting frontier town adventure, in just a few moments. And now, Frontier Town.
Well, as you found out, and we found out later, Doc Slavin and his bodyguard Cinco were a couple of upstanding citizens, all right. They should have been upstanding on a scaffold. But the murder which they'd perpetrated so cold-bloodedly was only half of the meanness and corruption in Doc Slavin's system. The very idea that he and a few of the cattle barons like him owned the West was a feeling that was shared by others. One which would have to be... Well, I don't mean to get on the soapbox about this, so... Well, before I start overflowing again, let's get back to where we left off. When Cherokee and I left the Knutsons, they were well on their way to rounding up their neighbors, packing their wagons, and heading up the trail which Cherokee and I took several hours before. The trail to Sunbeam Valley.
Chad, I don't want to have to quibble with you, but this whole thing seems to me to be much ado about nothing.
Well, maybe it is.
Why any people would be benighted enough to send for a lawyer to tell them what to do when the only path open to them is to move is beyond me.
Probably because they're foreign-born, Cherokee, and their respect for the laws in this country and their lack of understanding of them makes them feel helpless.
Fiddlesticks. Why, every one of us in this country comes from a foreign-born family. That is, everyone but the Apaches, the Navajos, the Utes, the Osage.
Okay, Cherokee. There's no question that you have an encyclopedic knowledge of the names of all our Indian tribes, but if you'd set your brain to more practical problems, we may get out of this alive.
Huh? Alive, you say?
Alive, I hope. That rifle in my office the other day, those shots from the cottonwoods on the road, all those happenings indicate one thing. Some of the big cattlemen around here figured out what the dairy farmers are going to do and are trying to stop it before it happens.
You think we're riding into trouble?
Plenty of trouble.
Then, by gilded glory, why don't you let me promote some of that Danish brandy? Man needs something stimulating at a time like this.
Well, I'm afraid you're going to get your stimulation, but not from bottles. Oh, I got an awful hunch that this time the stimulation is going to come out of a holster and be served in small doses of lead.
My boy, I just remember that I have an engagement back in Dos Rios. If I get through in time, I'll be happy to return here and see what I can do to help.
Oh, no, you don't. Hey, you see that little American flag on the frame building right ahead? That's the federal land office for the district. All you're going to do is rein up your horse, climb off, and go with me.
That's what I said. I'm sticking by you through thick and thin.
Whoa there. Oh, boy. All right, Cherokee, and see if you can't stop your knees from shaking, huh?
If only I had time for a swig of my rattlesnake oil.
Howdy, men.
Oh, afternoon. You the land agent?
Well, you might say that I am.
What sort of an answer is that? You either are the land agent or you aren't.
Well, I'm the federal agent, but I ain't got no land left. That's what I meant.
No land left. There are 130,000 acres here.
You ain't meaning to doubt my word, are you?
Far be it from me.
I'm sorry you rode all this way for nothing.
I don't think the time was wasted.
Huh? What do you mean?
Are you sure you want me to answer that question?
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, what do you mean?
Well, in words of 2 syllables, I don't believe you. I don't believe all the land's been deeded out.
You're calling me a liar, is that it?
Comes to the same thing.
Chad, he's filling his hand.
You're a pretty fast draw for a land agent, but not fast enough, it seems.
Why,
Nice, clean fight, aren't you? Using a horseshoe nail ring. All right. You're not out that much that you can't hear what I have to say. 20 families of dairy farmers are moving up here from Faust. If we've got even half a law left in this country, they're going to get homesteads and settle on them. And if you or anyone else like you has any different ideas, you're going to have a fight on your hands that'll make Gettysburg look like a Sunday school picnic. Come on, Cherokee. I want to meet Mr. Knudsen before they hit Snakeskin Pass.
Chad, for the life of me, I don't understand what your tactics are. I'll grant you the man in that office certainly was a rancher, and not anyone who'd be sent out here from Washington.
Well, I'm glad you agree with me about one thing.
Why in the name of all outdoors did you tell him the route the Knudsen's were taking? Don't you realize that if he is a rancher, you'll have 100 gunslingers out at Snakeskin Pass and blast the lot of them, and us right off of the map?
That, my friend, is the general idea. Now, look, suppose we prove this man's an imposter, and somehow or other he's gotten rid of the real land agent.
Yeah?
Would that stop the other big ranchers and the cowpokes working for them from attacking that wagon train coming in here and wiping it off the map?
No, I guess not, but...
I don't mind a fight. And I don't think our Danish-American friends do either. But just to make it slightly equitable, I thought it'd be a good idea to know when they were going to hit and where.
But great gilded glory, man, if you think...
You might as well save it, Cherokee. Because I'm saving whatever breath I've got left to talk to Brother Knudsen and his friends and to get them to play it my way. Believe me, with people like that, my job isn't going to be easy. All right, get up here, you. Come on.
Now, please, please. We asked Mr. Remington to give help for us, and it is only right we should listen to what he has to say.
You go ahead, Mr. Remington. I'm sure everyone wants to hear your advice.
Well, Mr. Knudsen, let me go on by admitting that what I'm about to suggest you're doing isn't without risk.
We have already risked everything we own, everything we work for. A few more risk now. What difference does that make?
Well, I suppose that as a lawyer, I should suggest settling all of this through the courts, but as a lawyer, I know that by the time we could get any court action, your herds of dairy cattle would be either dry or dead.
Already our cows are drying up. If we don't soon do something, we will be worse than the cows.
Very well. Now, as I told you, I'm as sure as I can be without proof that the real land agent has been killed, and the man Cherokee and I saw is an imposter, a rancher posing as a land agent.
And as contemptible and ornery and nefarious no good as ever I've clapped my eyes on.
And since we can't prove the crime, and since to get you into Sunbeam Valley we have to defeat all the opposition, I'm simply proposing that we try to catch them in another crime and jail a lot of them for that or bury them where they fall.
If it's a fight you suggest, we are not afraid to fight.
Well, no, I'm not suggesting a fight, although it may turn into one. But since, if I'm right, they're expecting you at Snakeskin Pass, I say let's round up all the fuses and dynamite we can lay hands to and give those buzzards a noisiest welcome a crowd of selfish and contemptible ranchos ever had. Good. Then get back on those wagons and don't stop knocking on those horses until we're at Snakeskin Pass.
Hey, look, Doc. That must be them dairy farmers coming now. See that long string of wagons just heading up the grade into the pass?
Yeah, it's them, all right. But I wonder what's happened to Remington and that partner of his. From the way they talked, I thought they'd be out front like a couple of Kit Carsons.
Now, who cares where he is?
I care. Because I got a little unfinished business with that loudmouth lawyer. Well, that ain't getting us no place. If we're going to take care of that wagon train, we better get riding.
All right, boys. Get out them 6 guns and rifles and let's go.
Don't spread out, you fools! Keep together so we can pour the lead into them.
Hey, boss. Hey, Doc. You see what happened? 2 blasts went off. One at either end of the pass, and we're bottled in here like goldfish in a bowl.
Hey, you! You down there! Can you hear me?
What the? Where's that voice coming from? Who is it?
I see who it is. It's Remington. Way up on top of the pass on that rock.
Yeah, Remington, I hear you. What do you want?
I want you and the rest of those dry guts and vultures with you, dead or alive, to haul to the nearest federal jail. We'd rather take you alive, but we haven't got any scruples against taking you dead.
Jeepers, boss, you know what? We rode into a trap.
If you are going to take us, Remington, it ain't going to be alive!
You're being an awful fool, my friend. The wagons are blocking the pass up ahead of you, and they're bristling with guns like a porcupine. The rest of us are up here behind the rocks, where you can't even nick us, and we've got you just like setting ducks.
Your bluff ain't going to work, Remington. If you want us, come and get us!
If you think I'm going to stand here and make a target of myself, Slavin, you got another thing coming. They start triggering them rifles in earnest, and they got every one of us plumb center.
All right, it's getting dark. We're not going to wait till we can't see you anymore. You got exactly 1 minute to drop those guns in a heap down there and start walking toward the wagon single file. Well, 10 seconds are gone now.
I'm not being carried out of here feet first.
Anybody else?
You can do what you want, Slavin. I know when I'm licked.
And that goes for me, too. Come on, boys. If Slavin wants to stay here, that's his business.
All right, Mr. Newsom. Here they come. Now get the ropes out we brought along with us and tie up the lot of them. There may be no bounty on polecats in this county, but we're bringing a mess of them in anyhow.
Mr. Remington, if only you come back in a few months, after we've got everything settled, then we give you a good party.
Oh, Mama Newton, you don't know what a party this one is. Not only have I eaten a whole plate full of your cookies already, but I've had 4 glasses of milk.
Milk? If I didn't already know that cows are stupid, all the proof I'd need would be to taste the liquid they produce.
After we unpack, maybe I can find you some cherry brandy I bring from old country. That's real Danish drink, real old-fashioned way of celebrating.
Why, I'd be only
Oh,
too
now, wait
glad-
a minute, Cherokee. You know you don't like old-fashioned things. Look what happened at that dance you attended the Ladies' Auxiliary gave in Dos Rios a few months ago.
Oh, yes, where I met that beautiful flaxen-haired blonde. She wasn't old-fashioned.
Oh, I don't know. First you danced an old-fashioned schottisch with her, then an old-fashioned polka, and finally an old-fashioned mazurka.
My, that sounds nice. What happened after that, Cherokee?
What could happen after that, madam? After 3 old fashions, they had to carry the young lady home.
Frontier Town, starring Tex Chandler and featuring Wade Crosby, is a Bruce Ells production. Story and direction by Paul Franklin. Music written and played by Ivan Ditmars. Be sure to be with us again, same time next week, for another fine action-adventure story with your favorite young Western star, Tex Chandler. And now this is Bill Foreman telling you that Frontier Town came to you from Hollywood. Frontier Town, the saga of the Roaring West. Frontier Town. El Paso, Cheyenne, Calgary, Tombstone. Frontier Town. Here is the adventurous story of the early West, the tamed and the untamed, from the Pecos to Powder River, Dodge City to Poker Flat. These are the towns they fought to live in and lived to fight for, teeming crucibles of pioneer freedom. Frontier Town!
Howdy there. In case you've forgotten or never did know, I'm Chad Remington, frontier lawyer from the cow town known as Notorious. And as I've said a time or two before, out on the brawling, sprawling frontier, a lawyer gets into all sorts of things, especially trouble. And trouble out our way not only starts with a capital T, but often ends with capital punishment. I guess it was last month, and an old friend of my father's, Harvey Burnside, wrote and asked me if I had time to come down to where he lives, a town which he had built himself from practically nothing, a town named Burnside Falls. Harvey has a brother, Milo Burnside, who owns the little bank in Burnside, and between them, I guess Harvey and Milo pretty well control that section of the country. Well, while Cherokee O'Bannon, the former medicine man who now runs the Dos Rios livery stable and bangs around with me, was trying to find 2 horses from his stable that would take us to Burnside Falls and back, the situation which caused Harvey to write me suddenly started getting worse. So much worse that Harvey paid a call on his brother Milo at the bank.
Milo, let's quit mincing words now. Let's get down to cases.
All right, Harvey, let's. What's on your mind?
And I've been hearing things about you, Milo. Things I don't like to hear about any man, let alone my brother.
Oh, well, you don't say.
I heard you've been over to War Dance last week.
And what if I have? War Dance is a mighty nice and bustling little town. Harvey, it's high time you were getting some sense through your head. When the railroad agreed to build its western terminal into whichever town the voters choose as the county seat of Buckshot County, nobody figured a dreamer like you would build a town out here, right in the middle of the prairie.
Prairie, my eye. Burnside Falls lies between 3 trails and 2 rivers. The best dad-blame place in the whole state for a county seat.
That's what I thought once.
You mean you changed your mind since old man McCall put some of his Jerkwater Railroad's money on deposit in your bank? Money. That's all you ever think of.
Well, you'd be a lot better off if you did sometimes. Ah, Harvey, stop being blind. That new town of War Dance is a good 80 miles closer to where the rails now end, and it'd make an ideal county seat.
War Dance. What is it? Nothing but a hideout for a bunch of owl hoots like Cap Kilmore and his gang. Sure, McCall and the railroad would like that. Building into War Dance would save them a couple of $100,000 because it's closer. But they got their franchise on the strength of connecting up to whatever town the people select.
Oh, the people, my neck. Now, look, Harvey. It's worth good cold cash to me, and I'll see you won't lose. If you help me convince the people that War Dance and not Burnside Falls should be voted the county seat next week.
Yeah? Well, they'll vote just how they please. And you, your bank, or that railroad's not going to interfere.
Why, you pig-headed old fool. If you weren't my brother, I'd tell you to go for your gun.
And if you keep trying to interfere, you may still have your chance, brother or no brother. And if you don't lay off, Milo, I may go for my gun first.
Well, that was the situation when O'Bannon and I arrived in Burnside Falls. A wide-open split between Harvey and Milo Burnside. But being brothers, Harvey was reluctant, more than reluctant, to make a public issue of what he believed and knew. And his wife, Sarah, hoped that somehow I might be able to talk sense into his money-grubbing brother's head.
And that's about the whole story, Chad. The railroad can save upwards of $200,000 building into War Dance instead of here. And that's why the railroad can afford to offer Milo money to try and throw the election to War Dance.
Well, I'm reluctant to say this, but your brother sounds to me like a nefarious little nickel nurser.
Yes, that's the way it looks. And I'd bet Milo would sell the railroad out even now if anyone offered him $5 more.
How does he figure to swing the election?
Figure to swing it? Why, he's swinging it right now. People are actually pulling up stakes here and moving to War Dance already.
Yeah, enough of a move, I suppose they'll have a majority of the votes.
Well, folks, I don't know what good it's going to do, but come on. Let's ride into town and pay a call on Brother Milo.
town of Burnside Falls looks quite prosperous. We've already passed 7 stores, 2 saloons.
Oh, Bennett, I don't mind your admiring the saloons from the outside. But this trip, you're not pouring what they peddle down your insides. Say, where's this bank your brother's located, Harvey?
Just down at the end of this block, Chad, that gray and white building.
Good grief, do you see what's happening? The bank's being held up.
There go the dirty buzzards who held up the bank, hitting the horses and hightailing it out of town.
Come on, boys. Even with the head start they've got, we may still be able to overtake them.
Get up there, you. Get ready.
Well, I was wrong. The excitement brought everybody in town out into the street. By the time we'd threaded our way through the crowd, the bank bandits were out of town and into the hills. The trail ended in the rocks. We all turned our horses and piled back into town, back to the bank itself to find out what had actually happened.
Boys, now, if you'll only quiet down, maybe we can all hear what Milo has to say.
Now, neighbors, I hate to tell you this, and if you'd have caught the men who rifled the bank, the story would be different. But the way they cleaned me out, to keep up my legal cash reserves now, I'm forced to declare all loans due and payable immediately. Now, men, I'm sorry. And as sorry as I am, the law's the law. And to tell the truth, as soon as I've got things straightened out here, I'm closing up and trying to make back what I've lost by moving my bank over to War Dance.
You don't mean there's some connection between the bank robbery and you moving to War Dance, do you, Burnside?
That's the kind of idea it would be healthier never to put into words again, Remington.
Oh, so? Well, I've heard of men being railroaded to jail before, but this is the first time I've ever heard of a railroad being the cause of moving a whole bank and its president up to the federal penitentiary.
Burnside, after all I've been through today, you don't happen to have a little drop in the house, do you?
Well, if you're as weak as all that, Cherokee, we'll go to the drugstore and get you some smelling salts. Besides, right now, none of us has got anything to celebrate. Milo's little bank robbery was too successful.
You mean to think that Milo arranged the robbery?
Oh, I ain't denying that Milo's ornery, Chad, but well, I can't believe Harvey's brother would frame a robbery on his own bank.
Well, maybe not, Sarah. But Harvey did say that this other town, War Dance, is the hideout of a lot of owl hoots.
You bleamed right. Fellas like Cap Kilmore moved in there.
And the question is, how come and why did Kilmore move down here from his own stamping grounds, the Dakotas?
Well, I don't know anything about that, Chad, but Kilmore showed up in these parts about, let's see now, about 3 months back.
3 months ago, huh? And when did you first hear about this railroad thing and their anxiety to make War Dance the county seat?
Well, now, let's see. Well, it seems to me that was about, yeah, that was 3 months ago, too.
Do you think there's a connection between the railroad and Cap Kilmore, Chad?
Well, I don't know for sure, but there certainly could be. The railroad starts working on Milo, deposits money in his bank, and Milo writes a letter and hires himself a handyman like Cap Kilmore.
Chad, do you honestly think Milo'd go out and hire a crook and drive folks over to War Dance?
Blamed if I know. But it certainly makes a reasonable supposition. And with the election only a few days off, all we can do before we're sure is sit back and wait. Wait for action.
If you're still in Burnside this time tomorrow, you and your old family will stay here permanent. You're not driving me from my home? Yeah? Well, then maybe someone will dig you a new home. They won't move, huh? Well, we'll move them like that fuse.
Chad, I know my husband brought you down here to help us. But we just can't go on this way. We can't go on just sitting around while these gun toters blow Burnside Falls apart.
Now, Sarah, it ain't Chad's fault, you know.
Well, maybe it isn't. But it was Chad who said sit back and see what happened. And look what's happened. Folks shot down, places burned up, and almost half the people over here picking up and moving to war dance to save their lives.
My dear Mrs. Burnside, even though I used to sell a medicine which was a miracle, it's going to take more than a miracle to stop this lawlessness as quickly as you'd like.
Yes, but you don't understand. Folks are moving away from here, a dozen families a day.
Just like sheep, that's what they are. And the blackest sheep of the lot is that no good brother of mine, Milo.
It isn't all right even saying things like that, Harvey. Even though saying and proving in Milo's case are as far apart as Pikes Peak and Death Valley.
Prove? How can you prove anything on a gang of cutthroats like that? Thousands upon thousands of dollars behind them just to buy votes and bullets.
And that's just the frame of mind they want you and other folks around here to stay in, Sarah. They want you scared to death. They want you to give up before you're licked. Don't you see that's winning half the battle for them?
Well,
they're not only making this a war, they're making this a war of nerves.
Well, they've got my nerves so frazzled that I'm even willing to take a drink of my Cherokee Indian rattlesnake oil. There's nothing else handy around the house, of course.
Cherokee, the only thing around this house is trouble. If War Dance is made the county seat, Harvey and Sarah Burnside will have lost everything they've worked years to build up. And the people of this section will be saddled with a reign of crime and corruption that'll make Custer's last stand look like a Sunday school picnic.
now that's what I mean, Chad. You've got to do something.
And we will do something, Sarah, if we can ever figure out something to do. Believe me, I haven't come down here to console you. I've come down to help. I'm not going to sit by and see this county referred to in the history books later on as another gun-troubled valley.
We'll return to the second act of Gun Trouble Valley, our exciting frontier town adventure, in just a few moments. And now back to Frontier Town.
Well, I might as well admit it. All that high-sounding talk I gave Sarah and Harvey Burnside was really just whistling in the dark. A little pep talk to keep up their confidence. It wasn't until later that afternoon, while Cherokee and I were jogging back toward Burnside Falls, that any idea hit me at all.
Billy Blue Blazes, Chad, this whole situation is thoroughly sordid.
It sure is, Cherokee. A man not only turning against his own brother, but all of his neighbors and friends.
Normal man might suffer from a thirst, like me. Normal thirst.
Of course you mean thirst, as in thirst for knowledge.
Well, knowledge is what gives me my thirst. My brain is so full of knowledge it requires considerable lubrication.
Well, I'm glad to learn that, Cherokee. Because next time your thirst overtakes you, I'll just stake you to 3 rounds of axle grease.
Well, even axle grease is better than water. However, referring to Milo Burnside's thirst, his is an unnatural thirst. A thirst for gold.
And just about as unquenchable as the average... Cherokee, whether you know it or not, you've just given me an idea.
Now, if it has anything to do with axle grease, I don't want to hear about it.
Far from it. This has got something to do with gold. And I hope the solution to making Burnside Falls the county seat at the election.
Gold? What has gold got to do with it?
Well, if we can get about 3 ounces of gold dust and tailings, it may have everything to do with it. Come on, Cherokee. You and I are going to the Lion's Den. We're riding over to War Dance. While Cherokee and I were prodding those livery stable nags across the county over to War Dance, Milo Burnside apparently reached there ahead of us as the result of a summons from Cap Kilmore.
If you think because you're the president of a two-bit bank, Burnside, you can give me orders, you got a few things coming.
Yes? Well, you might as well understand this here now, Kilmore. I hired you, and you're working for me.
Yeah? Well, I ain't working for nobody. McCall's Railroad is footing the bill, and you and me, well, we're just partners. And the way I'm starting to feel now, I might be happier if I didn't have any partners at all.
You can't threaten me. I promised the railroad we'd move 1,000 people away from Burnside and over here to War Dance. And if you can't live up to your obligation, I'll get somebody else to do it.
Why, you fat-headed buzzard. You're a bigger crook than I am. Double-cross your own brother, rob your own bank, and then move over here like a rat leaving a sinking ship.
Why, you cheap murdering... I was just hoping you'd do that. My throat! You're choking me! Don't, Cap, don't!
I got a good mind to bang your head through the floor. You gonna behave?
Yes.
And we're in this deal as partners?
Yes, Cap. Anything you say.
Go on, get up. And remember, next time you think you're giving me orders, you'll find it's me who's doing the ordering. Ordering you a $10 funeral.
Two high-grade gentlemen, those two. Either one of them would happily arrange to murder a man for a silver dollar. But of course it was this love of money that not only was the basis of the whole trouble, but also what I hoped would be the solution for Harvey Burnside and Sarah. Cherokee and I were talking it over as our horses slowed up and we hit War Dance's rutted and dirty main street.
Suppose you realize you're asking me to risk my life by coming over to a town like this, Chad?
Why, War Dance is the perfect town for you, Cherokee. It's wide open and lawless.
That's what I mean.
And being lawless, there's no law here. So there shouldn't be anyone looking for you for peddling that alcohol and water you used to describe as genuine Cherokee Indian rattlesnake oil.
Yes, I see what you mean. Yes, indeed. But with that poke of gold dust stuck in your pocket, somebody's sure to spot it and try to get it away from you. If they do, that means trouble.
Well, I hope somebody spots the gold dust.
You hope? Confound you anyhow, Chad. Just what are you up to?
Well, according to you, I'm up to my neck in trouble. But if you want to know exactly what I plan to do to get the voters back to Burnside, all I can tell you is that I'm only certain of the first move. I'm going to locate Mr. Cap Kilmore and start from there.
Okay. Where do you think you can find him?
Well, the first place I'm going to look is down the street there in that saloon.
In that saloon? Chad, my boy, you're a man of rare perspicacity. Lead the way, my friend, and depend on old Banner to follow.
Oh, Buck, give me another drink. This time, leave the bottle on the bar.
Pardon me, you Mr. Kilmore?
Yeah. Who are you?
My name's Foley, Mr. Kilmore. Fellow over there said you wanted to talk to me.
Oh yeah. You're one of the folks who moved over here from Burnside Falls, aren't you?
That's right. That is, I ain't sure I'm staying here.
I see. Well, maybe I can convince you that you ought to stay here a while. At least until tomorrow when we're holding the election for the county seat.
I don't see what you mean, sir.
Well, us folks over here in War Dance have got a lot of pride in our community. And if you'll stay here for the election and cast your vote for the best interest of the county, we'd be mighty happy to show you our appreciation.
Well, that sounds interesting, Mr. Kilmore.
You see, the law's funny. It says for a man to vote, he's got to own land.
Yeah.
So I figured maybe we'd just give you a quarter section of land and, how does that sound, huh?
Well, that ain't much of an attraction. The land I seen since I got over here is so dry a man couldn't raise gophers on it.
Well, since that's the way you feel about it, we might buy the land back from you for $50 the day after the election.
Oh. Oh, I see. Fellas got to own land to vote. Then after the election... You're a smart one, Cap. You sure are.
And you'd better make sure you're smart, too, Foley. Because I'm making it my business to get the name of every man who votes, and whether he votes for Burnside Falls or Warden.
Yeah.
I think you get the idea, Foley. I'll see you later.
Sure thing. I'll be looking for you the day after election. Hey, bartender, I'll have a beer.
Well, Cherokee, this is one time I'm going to buy you a drink. May we squeeze in here, mister?
Yeah, you bet.
Give me 2 fingers, no chaser.
Be careful with those fingers, Cherokee. Don't chew them down past the nails.
You fellas here to vote?
No, far from it. I'm over here because of that crooked election Kilmore's trying to run on the people.
Of course, it ain't none of my business, but I wouldn't say things like that too loud.
Why? Has Kilmore got you bluffed, too?
Oh. You're in for it now. Here's Kilmore coming back to the bar right now.
No, sir, Kilmore don't scare me. I still think he's running a crooked election.
What did you say, mister? What's that again?
I said this whole election smells rotten to me. Or maybe you don't think so.
The only thing I think is that your mouth needs closing. What's your name?
What difference does my name make?
Well, we got to put something on the headstone.
Chad, take it easy.
Now, look, if you think you're threatening me, you're not even getting close to it. Because I think you haven't got enough salt in your whole system to do anything about it. Not while I'm standing in front of you.
Chad, you're loco.
Remember I told you your mouth needed closing?
Well...
Saffron, Tomcats, Kilmore. You darn near knocked his head right off his shoulders, you did.
All right, you. Now, get up off there.
Cap, what's that? That little leather pouch that rolled out of his pocket on the floor.
Huh? What pouch?
This pouch right here. And look, it's full of gold dust. Gold dust? Yes, gold dust.
Wait a minute. Give me that back. That gold dust is mine.
Where'd you get this stuff? Well, I'm not waiting. Where'd you get that gold dust?
Well, I sure would never tell you if you didn't have me covered. But, well, I got it out of the bank on Wolf Creek over in Burnside Falls.
Come on, men. If there's gold there, we better be getting back to Burnside Falls.
Don't! You fools, come back! Don't you see it's a trick? Come on!
Well, you're smarter than I gave you credit for, Kilmore. It was a trick. Yeah, a trick that was just good enough to spoil your plan for a cooked-up election.
And by the time they find it out, the election will be over. Burnside Falls will be the county seat.
And you'll be in jail.
Why, you dirty double-dealer.
Cherokee Duck!
Now, let's see what you can do without your gun.
Look out, Chad. The way you're hitting him, he's going to fall against the bar and upset those beautiful bottles of... Now, that's the first time I've ever seen a man knocked out, the stimulants applied simultaneously. Look at him. He's just bathed in bourbon.
Yes. But unfortunately, the bourbon's not going to wash away his sins. But I think by the time a few of the people admit on the stand to the bribes Kilmore offered them, that the state will wipe away his sins, although it may take 20 years.
Chad, as an attorney at law, you certainly violate more laws than you learned about in school.
Oh, I don't know about that, Cherokee. The only law I was dealing with in war dance was the law of human nature. As you pointed out earlier, and gave me the idea, it was just their thirst for gold which dumped Mr. Kilmore's apple cart.
Strange you should mention thirst and apple carts in the same breath. Because as a callow youth, one of my dearest delights was imbibing of hard cider. An excellent libation, but I no longer like apples.
You mean you're an apple knocker?
Well, not exactly, my boy. But a short time ago, I was revolted when I served a dish of applesauce. The whole thing was full of hairs.
Full of hairs, huh? Well, maybe that was your fault. You didn't order your applesauce made from the right kind of apples.
Is there a certain kind of apple for making applesauce without hairs?
Why, certainly. Next time you order your applesauce, Order it made from Baldwin's.
Baldwin's?
Frontier Town, starring Reed Hadley and featuring Wade Crosby, is a Bruce Ells production. Story and direction by Paul Franklin. Music written and played by Ivan Ditmars. Be sure to be with us again same time next week for another fine action-adventure story with your favorite young Western star, Reed Hadley. And now this is Bill Foreman telling you that Frontier Town comes to you from Hollywood.